All right, what's going on, gents? Today we got a pretty cool video for you guys. We think it's going to be really helpful, really practical for the infantrymen out there. We're going to be going over practical tips and tools for infantrymen while they're on mission and while they're doing, the thing that we do, which is shoot, move, communicate, close with and destroy the enemy. We've seen a lot of really cool survival videos, SERE videos that applies to like civilians, maybe special operators or special forces that are very far forward of friendly lines. What we want to introduce to you guys are these tips and tools that you can bring with you on mission that also have different uses and that kind of flow really well with what you carry. Because, as infantrymen, we carry a lot of ammo, pyro, grenades, optics. We can't have like this extreme robust survival kit because it's going to weigh us down. So we'll start getting into these tools and breaking it down for you guys. All right, so we brought in an expert on this stuff. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Just give your credentials, man.
Yeah, so I've been through SERE, level C, full spectrum, and then jungle leaders, which has jungle survival part of that. So the four big things that we want are shelter, fire, water, and signaling. Some issued stuff that we have for that. So for shelter, 550 in your tarp. For water, just your camelback or your canteen cup. And then fire, every infantryman should have a lighter on them. And then for signaling, the assault pack waterproof bag, you turn it inside out and you have an air panel.
Yep. And then we also get issued the I think that's the guys that issued the micro inline water filter. You want to tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, so it's just clips to your camelback. I personally don't recommend it. It doesn't filter out the level of microns that you want to be drinking. So if you do use this, I just recommend boiling the water first. And then when you boil water, it's a rolling boil, not just a boil. So when you see bubbles, that does not mean it's good to drink. You want it to be a rolling boil.
Yep. And yes, because again, guys, the point of this videos is practical tools. So we wanted to start with issued gear that every Marine should have. I think the only thing not issued here is like the 550, but every dude is told by his team leader, squad leader to go buy a 550 cord. And then the lighter. Every Marine also provides a lighter. There's definitely gonna be one dude because dudes are still smoking because that's a thing. Especially when it's cold outside, everyone seems to pick up smoking in Norway. Yeah, so we have the issued canteen cup here, and we talked about being able to carry this stuff on mission. When you're wearing your assault load or your sustainment load, you can just throw a canteen in here, and especially if you have canteen I make my dudes always have one canteen that has an NBC cap. That's the perfect canteen to put in there and stow it away. And when you don't need it, you don't need it. I know that a lot of dudes, in your experience, in the infantry, you're probably not going to have fires and stuff. That's not a normal thing in the Marine Corps, at least. But in a survival scenario, if you give yourself the ability to make a fire and procure water with this canteen cup, you can potentially boil and purify your water. And yeah, the micro inline filter, not the best option. And what we'll do is we'll get into some aftermarket options, like this stuff right here, that could help benefit you guys. Yeah, we'll kick into it. We're going to get into some aftermarket tools that we use, or specifically I use out in the field, that kind of mesh really well with your sustainment load, and they don't overcrowd your gear, and they also don't weigh a ton. So again, we get issued the canteen cup. This could potentially be like a replacement. So if you already have a canteen that has an NBC cap, you can bring a extra Nalgene, this is a metal Nalgene, and then a canteen cup for that Nalgene. What this allows me to do, I can procure a lot of water with this metal Nalgene, and then I can purify that with this if I need to. So it's not a bad idea to bring to the field with you. And another thing about water procurement as well is I have this Grail filter. This thing is, I think, really awesome and modular. So this specific one is, I think, 16 ounces. So it's not a lot of water itself, but you can put liquid IVs in here and everything. And it has a tube in here where it traps that liquid IV from actually going down into the filter. And then after that, what you can do, you can take this out of the inside, fill this up with water, press it down, and this specific filter is actually going to purify most of the things that could harm you. And what you can do is, if you've got a really small team, like a team of 4, you can filter probably 1 liter of water for each dude at a security halt or something. So that's a cool water system I've had. I've actually used it. It's helped me out a ton. It's really not a bad idea. And then we also got the iodine tablets. You want to hit those?
Yeah, so some I've used a lot, and it's just super basic, super simple. It's just iodine tablets. So you just throw them in your Nalgene, throw 2 in there for a liter, and then you gotta give it 30 minutes. Then you're gonna shake it up and open up the top to let all the gases out, and then wait another 5 minutes, and you'll be good to drink it. They also come with other tablets that help mitigate the taste, because a lot of dudes don't like the taste of iodine water. I don't recommend using that. It's also something that, like, if you're doing this at night and you throw in the thing that only mitigates the taste and not the iodine tablets, then your water's not purified. So I don't carry that. I just carry a bottle of Mio to mitigate that taste of iodine.
Yeah, and this is a pretty small container.
Yep, yeah. Like, so as you see, I have one here in my IFAC, and I've never once noticed it. It's a pretty robust bottle. It has wax to keep it dry, and I've never noticed it being in the prone or doing stock lanes. So
yeah. But yeah, that's a pretty useful tool, I think. And again, if that's the bare minimum of what you have to procure water or purify water, that's kind of what we're shooting for. Again, this video is going like out to standard infantry rifle platoons that have to still carry all this stuff, but still maintain the ability to survive if needed. Like, say your attack didn't necessarily go as planned, some tanks rolled up that weren't supposed to roll up, and then your team becomes disaggregated. You can still probably survive like a good day or two with being able to procure that water. Also, in swampy environments, littoral environments, anything like that, you're going to have access to that water. We're not necessarily going to hit water procurement in the desert, because I don't think any of us here are 100% experts on that, because also there's just not a lot of water in the desert. So that covers water procurement for the infantryman. We went over some issued stuff and some aftermarket stuff. The next thing we're going to get into is going to be shelter and heat. So we're going to hit that shortly.
All right, so we're going to go over 2 Marine Corps acronyms for survival and 1 for shelter building, and then we're going to hit the rule of 3. So the rule of 3, it just means you can survive 3 hours without shelter. You can go 3 days without water, and then 3 weeks without food. So what throws a lot of people off is 3 hours without shelter, and that's just in inclement weather or like in snowy conditions. And then also in the desert, just trying to avoid being in the sun as much as possible. The first acronym we're going to go over is just survival. So S is size up. So what you're doing is you're sizing up the situation. So like your surroundings, your physical conditions, and like your equipment. You're seeing what you have and where you are. U for is undue haste makes waste. So weighing the pros and cons of every action that you take. If you're gonna go down a cliff to get water, is that energy to get back up that cliff worth the water that you're getting? That's what that's referring to. R is remember where you are. So you always want to stay like aware of where you are, relating to north. You also want to know where you are from like the last known enemy contact, where you are to water, or like concealment. So just knowing where you are. V, vanquish fear and panic. So the last thing you need to do in a survival situation is just panic, because all you're going to do is just burn the calories that you need to be saving. The way to mitigate that is just control your feelings and then being put in like realistic training. I, improvise and improve. So the longer you're out there, the more your gear and tools are going to get degraded. So you're constantly trying to find ways to improve your gear and tools, whether that is like using rocks, sticks, and 550 to make a makeshift hammer, or making a stick with 2 prongs to pin snakes, whatever it is. You're just trying to always improve and improvise. And then V is value living. So don't give up just because it's hard. Don't give in to problems just because they're hard. You got to value your life if you want to survive. And then A, act like the natives. So observe people and observe animals. And the way they move through the terrain, or the way they get water, the way they set up their traps and snares, is how you should mirror that. And then L is just learn the basics. Practice primitive, prepare modern. So what that means is, if you're out there trying to build a fire, start by using 2 sticks and doing the bow method. But be prepared with lighters, matches, magnesium rods, other things like that, so that when you're in that situation, if your lighter's wet or your matches aren't waterproof, you still have means to start that fire. The next one is bliss. So this is for building a shelter. So a tactical consideration for shelter building in a shelter site, you're trying to use a 40 to 60 degree pitch. So when the if there's an enemy patrol moving by and they're looking, they're not going to see a shelter angled up like this. Another thing is you don't want it to go above your knee. You want to keep your shelter low to the ground. But so we'll get into it. So B is blend in with environment. So proper use of concealment. So as soon as you had that shelter, the initial shelter built with your 550 and your tarp, the first thing you're doing is camouflaging it. You're picking sticks, pine needles, leaves, whatever you have for wherever you are, and you're just concealing that shelter. Another thing is don't grab that stuff from your immediate area. Go 50, 100 meters away to pull veg to put on your shelter. L, like we said, low silhouette. So try to blend it in to like a depression. Keep that low silhouette so it doesn't catch the eye. I, a irregular shape. So there are no straight lines in nature. So you don't want the pitch of your tent to just be a straight line going across because that's going to catch your eye. And then S is small in size. So you don't want a nice, huge, big survival shelter. You want to keep it just big enough for just you and whatever pertinent gear like radios and your rifle. That's the only thing that needs to be in your survival shelter. And then the second S is just a secluded site. So off natural lines of drift. So you don't want to be near creeks, rivers. You don't want to be near a trapper trail or anything like that. All right, guys. So going back into it, 550 in a tarp is all you need to have a good shelter. The importance of shelter is due to weather. Like a lot of guys don't think they need shelter. They don't think it's practical. But if you're operating in a jungle environment where it's constantly raining, you have typhoons, everything, shelter is necessary. They're super easy to make. They're super practical. All you do is take this 550 and you find 2 trees that are the length of your tarp. Make sure it fits. An easy way to do that so you aren't building a shelter 2 times because your tarp doesn't fit is if you find the 2 trees, lay your tarp out just to ensure it fits. And then you're just tying just an ordinary knot on the first tree, which is whatever holds, whatever works for you. And then on the other end, to keep it tight, to keep the tension, you're going to tie a trucker's hitch, which we will show you later. And then you just get 4 sticks for each corner and use the bungees that are already on the tarp to keep it taut. And then from there, you can use whatever you have in your environment. So if you have pine needles or leaves, whatever you have to fill the gap between the ground and the tarp to keep that heat in to keep you warm. Going into fire, we have the 2 main things is a lighter, and then this multi-tool is really cool. So it's a Leatherman Signal. I've used this for many years. It's been through a lot of field ops, a lot of courses, and it has everything an infantryman needs, like pliers, knife, saw, everything you need. But this one specifically also has a magnesium rod to start fires, and it's super easy. All you do is pull this clip back and pop it through. And then you have another fire starter, and this will always be on your kit. So if you drop your lighter or you can't find it, this is right there on your kit. For what I recommend best is to mitigate smoke is to do a Dakota hole. So all that is a hole in the ground for your fire, and then another hole over here that connects to this hole for the wind. It doesn't make it smokeless, but it helps mitigate your smoke signature.
All right, so what we're gonna do, guys, I'm gonna show you guys how to set up a ranger roll or survival roll. This comes into play when you can, between your poncho liner and your actual tarp, you can get this into your assault load. So if you want to put this in your assault pack, it will fit. It's not as bulky as your issued sleeping bag and your bivy, and it works really well for like OPs and stuff. So get the poncho liner ready. All you're doing is just you're taking it apart, just splitting it in half. Cool. So it's good. And then you have these like tie-ons. Around it, you have one on the ends. This one's frayed on the corners. What you can do is lay your tarp out. And then your tarp has these holes right here. What you can do is find the right corner where it makes sense. Loop it through. and you can actually tie it on. Just do like a simple knot. There you go. That allows me to pull it and get it down on easy if I need to. Do that to every single corner. Do this one. I'm just gonna hit the 4 big corners and I'm gonna be done, and I'll show you guys what it looks like when it's wrapped over you. All right, so we have the poncho liner tied on to the tarp itself. And again, this gives you something that's mildly insulated. The poncho liner is pretty durable, and then it gives you that small waterproofing layer from the tarp. It's not gonna withstand a lot of like really inclement weather, but it'll definitely give you what you need for a short duration. So now I can throw it over top of me, lay down in the prone, I have an insulated layer and a protective layer on top of me. So it is a pretty good system. Just putting this out there for you guys, just so you know that you have this capability.
All right, guys. So we're gonna go into making a survival shelter. So like we said, we're gonna make it below the knee, and then we're gonna kind of have it at a downslope angle, trying to keep it between 40 and 60 degrees. So to start off, we're gonna bring it around this tree. And for this, super simple. It's like tying your shoe. You're just gonna do that. Bring it in, and then just do that 2 more times. Then just tighten it down. You want to orient it like this. So then this running end is gonna go down here to this tree. Bring it around, and then this is where we're gonna tie our trucker's hitch. So for that, you want to grab over, and then you're gonna create a bite. Put the bite through here, and then cinch that down. And with that, take this running in, pull it through, and then from there, angle it down, and then you just pull it nice and tight, where it's nice and taut. Yeah. Secure it just quick overhand, and then all this excess you just grab. You can straight that over. Then you can grab your tarp, drape it over. Then you're gonna get 4 stakes. So anything works. So we're just gonna use this random stick I found on the ground. Here's one. And the whole point is just to pull this tight. Right. Just drop that stick. And you're gonna do that for all 4 corners. Cool. And then from there, you're just gonna take, for demonstration purposes, we're gonna take it from here, but you would just go and get pine needles and fill that void to trap that heat in there for when you're inside. And then just remember, you're trying to keep it low to the ground where only you can fit in it, because you don't want that high silhouette. All right, guys, so here we are. We're digging a Dakota hole. So the reason why you want to do a Dakota hole and just not fire up like on ground, it just mitigates the smoke signature. It doesn't totally get rid of it, but it just makes it a smaller signature, which is ideal. And then the reason you're gonna want a fire is primarily for your ability to boil water after you procure it. So like, as much as people like drive not making fires, like it's good to practice in case you're in one of those survival scenarios where you need a fire.
What's a good depth for this?
A good depth, I wouldn't go further than a foot. And then another thing is, if you're like in that evasion mindset, you're trying to keep the dirt just co-located in case you do get compromised. You can just quickly throw that dirt over it, maybe throw some pine needles over it, just to like make it not look like it was never there, but you're just making it look like it might have been an old one. It's not as recent.
Is that more? Or?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yep.
There's another one right here.
Yep, just right here. You don't have to make them super far apart. And then this one's gonna be smaller. It doesn't need to be as big as that first hole, because that first hole is where your fire is, and that's where you're gonna be putting your fuel, so like your wood and stuff. This one, it connects to the bigger one, and it's for the airflow.
This does it need to be like all the way at the bottom, like
No.
connection? Okay.
No,
so it can just be in the middle.
Yeah. So this is you want to make this. This one can be 4 to 6 inches deep, and then you're just gonna dig it out here, so that airflow just goes in, eases the fire.
You just sharpen this equal. There we go. Got it. We got it through it now. Cool.
Yep.
All right. Now we just need to start firing it.
You still want to do it with the knife.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, man. It's a great idea. Dry surface. All right, guys. So something you can do to mitigate not knowing what plant is, like there's an edibility test. So having gone through different courses, I still couldn't tell you what plant is what and what I can eat and what I can't eat. So there's a universal edibility test for that reason. So the big takeaways from this is different people in the group should try different parts of the plant. So one person tries the leaves, one person tries the stem, and like one person can try like the branches or however you want to do it. You never want to take any shortcuts, and you want to complete this test as a whole. You don't want to skip any step. And then if you have any doubts, just don't try that plant. If there is a certain reaction you get from it, immediately stop the test. And a good way to ease stomach pain is drinking hot water. But if it's severe enough, just induce vomiting, which is less than ideal. But constantly drink as much fresh water as you're able to. And then cooking will make certain inedible plants edible. So it's ideal just to boil the plant regardless. So getting into it, step one, it's just try to not eat like 8 hours before this, because you want everything to be out of your system. That way, if there is a reaction, you know what it came from. So in certain situations, that might not be a problem because you're out of food and you just haven't ate. So it makes it easier. Step two, like I said earlier, so you're only trying one part at a time. So you're breaking up into like the stems, the roots, like the buds, the flower, the leaves, however it is, you're breaking that up and splitting it amongst the group, and you're only trying one part of that and that one part only. So the first like major thing is you're going to smell the part of the plant, and you're trying to smell for like a strong acid or like an odor. So if it smells foul or kind of like an almond scent, you just discard it. If there's white sap in it, discard it. Step four, so you're going to rub a small piece of the plant on a soft part of your skin. So like on the inside of your elbow or kneecap is like the two best places. And if you want to like break it up, so if there's any like juice or sap, that's what really gets on, like the soft part of your skin. And you're going to wait 15 minutes before you move on to the next part. If you have no like irritation, no like crazy reaction to it, that's when you know, okay, 15 minutes has passed. Now I'm going to go on to the step 5. So step 5 is the same thing. You're just going to rub a small piece on your lips. So just same thing. You're just going to rub it on your lips. And then for that, you're going to wait 3 minutes. And then same thing, if no crazy reaction occurs, that's how you know, all right, condition set, go to step 6. So step 6, you just place a small portion on your tongue. You don't swallow it. You don't chew it. You just let it sit on your tongue for 15 minutes. Step 7, you're just going to chew it. You're just going to chew that plant for 15 minutes, and you're still not swallowing it. You're not trying to swallow any saliva, anything. You're just trying to chew it and see what reactions occur. Step 8, you just swallow a super small portion. And this is the long part. You want to wait like around 5 hours to see if any reaction occurs. That way it has time to get through your whole system. And like I said earlier, if you do have a reaction, if it's a mild reaction, it's nothing crazy, drinking hot water can mitigate that. But if it's severe enough, you want to induce vomiting. If those 5 hours have passed and you've had no reaction to it, you want to prepare a quarter of a cup the same exact way you prepared your test. And then you're good to eat that. And then if you have no ill effect, then you're good to eat that. Just make sure it's in moderation. You don't want to eat too much of it. And then for insects, you only want to eat insects with 3 body parts, 6 legs, 2 antennas, and they either need to be green, black, or brown. So like, don't see a giant earthworm and think if you boil it, you're good to eat it. Like, it's super specific for a reason. because if you're out there and you have adverse reactions, that can just cause follow-on problems. So here we have our canteen cup. It's a great method to purify water. You just got to get it to a rolling boil. It's not when you see bubbles, it's when you see the bubbles rolling. And then another method is the issued water filter for your Camelback bladder. It's easy to put together. You just put that in there, connect it to your hose up top, and then you'll be good to go. Guys, another method is iodine tablets. So as you can see, comes in a glass bottle, wax to keep them dry. It takes 2 tablets in a liter. Just let it sit for 30 minutes, open it up, shake it around, let the gases out, let it settle for another 5 minutes, and you'll be good to drink it.
So what we have here is kind of a personal water filtration purification system. You can procure the water with this metal Nalgene, pour it into your metal Nalgene cup, and then you can purify it from there. And then once again, you want to make sure it's a rolling boil. You're not just seeing bubbles come up. So that's a good system to have if you don't like the issued canteen cup system. And then we also have the Grail filter. This is awesome for infantrymen that live in like a swampy or operating in a littoral environment. You can disconnect it from the bottom, procure your water from here, filled up. The way you do is you just press it down. And the nice thing about this specific system is that you can put like liquid IVs or like Mio energy drink stuff in here, and it doesn't actually get into the filter.
All right guys, we're gonna do a quick demonstration on what you're looking for when it comes to a rolling boil. So first and foremost, you got your water. First thing you do is you filter it. So the way to filter it is you can do multiple different methods. You can use like a sock, a skivvy shirt, however you want it. It's just something you put over top, so when you're scooping the water, you don't get any big particles. And then this is where we're actually gonna purify it. So the way that I always taught how to do it is you can grab 2 sticks and then you put them through the handle and then you just pull them taut. It's nice and tight. And then you just hang it over the fire.
This is also a pretty big fire too for, you know, doing this over a Dakota hole would also be really easy.
Yeah.
And over here, while he's boiling that, this is like the personal stuff that we have. So again, we can pre-filter this with like a sock or a skivvy shirt, and then the Grail filter allows us to actually filter it out itself. Push it down. This is going to give us 16 ounces of pretty clean water.
Big fire.
All right, cool. We did that. And then now, if we wanted to be even more extreme with it, like say this was like really disgusting, like swamp water or something like that, we can pour it into a metal canteen cup, or we can pour it into our own. And again, this is supposed to be, according to this filter, drinkable. But like I said, if this is really disgusting water, you don't have iodine tablets, or maybe even you want to be even more strict with like how you're filtering and purifying your water, you can even throw the iodine tablets in there with this. So we can boil it now. And another way to do it is if you have a mouth on your container like this, put a good old stick in there, pulled up. It's not going to come out because it's wider. And then you can make like a cross beam along your fire, and you can boil it like that. Or if you have a Dakota hole, you can use this to lower it, take off a little bit of the slack, and you can pull it right back out. It'll boil like that. So that's what we're going to do now. Stick the stick in there, place it in, take out the slack, and that's a lot of water, but it'll boil. You're going to have some stick particles in there, but I don't know, just be a man. You're already an infantryman, so it should be fine. All right, ready? All right, and again, this water went through like a rough filter system with a skivvy shirt. We put it in the actual filter container, filtered it through here, which this is supposed to filter out like 99.9% of like microns. Like this is a legitimate filter. Then we boiled it. And then if you really wanted to be like more in depth, throw an iodine tablet in there, like this water is going to be safe to drink. I would probably take all those steps if I was drinking extremely stagnant water or like some swamp water, which is least preferred, but those are all the kind of the steps you can take to make sure that this is going to be clean, good water. So there you go. All right, so again, big picture, guys. We're trying to incorporate these survival tools and items into like your everyday gear. So a lot of these things are going to have multiple uses. We know that there's always that guy who smokes in the platoon or in the squad. He's going to have a lighter. Never a bad idea to have a lighter with you. Wrapping that thing in duct tape so you have extra tape is also another good idea. Part of SOP is every guy always has a knife or multi-tool. That's something that's really common. And then 550 cord. This one's also the foxtail. We can also leave a link because we talked about that in the past video. Every Marine's issued a tarp. Every Marine's issued a whoopee or a poncho liner. All right, we hope you guys got something from that video. Again, the whole point of this was for infantrymen to get practical tips and tools on what they can do to their kit in the field to be able to prep them for any type of survival situation, any type of evasion situation. This is really basic, bare bones stuff for you guys. And we just hope, it found the right people. So if you guys ever have any questions for us, please let us know. We do have access to a guy who went through SERE and Jungle Leaders, so he can definitely help us respond to y'all's questions. Appreciate you coming out, man.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me.
Cool.